We gave our 1.5-yo his first haircut and grandma had him the next day and fixed it. Someone just have empathy with me that this is crossing a boundary. Because my husband said I said sorry, babe. For some reason it was so hard for me to come to terms with cutting our 1.5-year-old's hair. He's such a curly-haired cute boy and my husband had wanted to cut it for a few months and I finally gave in. It was perfect. My husband buzzed the sides while I was able to keep some curl on the top by just trimming. He was styling and looked so grown. He took him over to great-grandma's house and came back with the top trimmed off and leaving him with straight across bangs. Now I can't look at him without thinking of how I just feel so disregarded. It's not that it was grandma, it's just that I wasn't told about it until after. I have been holding it in harder than I have anything before because I don't want him to think I'm going after his family again. And I know it's just hair and it will grow and I need to let it go. But I couldn't. I said to my hubs, can you just let me know next time before? And he said I was sorry like I was being rude. I was being so nice, not blabbing on about it or blaming anyone in particular, but holy cow, I'm coming to Reddit. Please give me the empathy I desperately need. My ex-wife finally started therapy. I'm not happy for her at all. My ex-wife and I had a dramatic 4 years of marriage, to say the least. I don't want to look like I'm pointing the finger at her, but she was legitimately the cause of 99% of our marriage issues. Over these 4 years, I must have told her that she needed therapy dozens of times. I begged. I pleaded. I even called a therapist, described her symptoms, and asked the therapist if she could help. She said that she sounds like she needs a consultation. My wife still refused. When my wife lost her mind and shrieked at me for an hour because I left a pen on the table in the wrong place, I asked her to go to therapy. She refused. When my wife missed my father's funeral because she was so absorbed in her smartphone that she simply forgot, leaving me alone on one of the worst days of my life, I asked her to go to therapy. She refused. When my wife shouted at me on a crowded train and I had to pretend I didn't know her to save myself from the humiliation, I asked her to go to therapy. She refused. The last straw was 6 months ago. My wife started a fight with 2 men in public because they were smoking. I tried to de-escalate. My wife had to just have one more word, about 5 times. I tried to pull her away and she spat at them. This led to a physical altercation in which I broke 2 ribs. My wife had locked herself in the car as they beat me up. From my hospital bed, I finally told my wife that if she wanted to stay married, she would have to get therapy. She refused. She chose divorce. Our divorce was finalized a month ago. We are still going over several major financial points. Today we had people coming by to see our old house. After they checked it out for a good 30 minutes and left, she told me that she had to go to an appointment. Out of curiosity I asked what for, to which she responded that she was seeing a therapist. At first I was happy. But then she added Tim convinced me to go. Tim. The guy she has been seeing for a couple of months, since we separated. The dog trainer, if I'm recalling his profession correctly. In 4 years, dozens of witness meltdowns, public humiliation and 2 broken ribs, I could not do what Tim did in under 60 days. I have no idea what he has that I don't. But now I'm sitting here, likely feeling worse than I did at any point in our marriage. Why didn't she try to salvage things with me? Why did she care so little? Tattoo may end my marriage. I recently got a tattoo on my chest to commemorate becoming a father. Initially I wanted to avoid my nipple getting tattooed because I heard it was a pretty painful spot. The artist told me based on the design it wouldn't look right and would stand out if he didn't tattoo my nipple, making the tattoo look very off. Since this was for my daughter, I opted to go with his wishes and have my nipple tattooed. I had told my wife that wasn't going to be the case when I went in. After the tattoo was finished I called her and told her that while initially I wasn't planning on getting the nipple covered, the artist recommended it, so I had it done. This blew up into the biggest fight we ever had. She had never told me how adamant she hated a tattooed nipple. If she had, I would not have done it. She had only agreed with my initial thoughts that I wanted to avoid the area. She called me selfish and that I don't think of her or our family when I make decisions. That I acted like I was a bachelor without a family and I should have called her immediately when the plan was being changed so she could give her input. She then told me how she wasn't going to be attracted to me anymore because I'm uneven now and just how much she hates tattooed nipples. Not sure what to do at this point, if there's anything to do. Our relationship was great and full of laughter and now it's cold. I even felt awkward picking my baby up this morning because the tattoo is for her. My husband told his parents and friends that I had a mastectomy due to family history when in fact I had cancer. I recently found out my husband told his parents and some of his friends that I decided to remove my breasts because of my family history of cancer. I have been cancer-free for a decade now. During a conversation with his mother a few months ago I brought up the fact that my 10-year cancer-free date was coming up and she looked at me like I was crazy and said, "You mean when you had your breasts removed because all the cancer in your family, right?" My husband was sitting right next to her looking mortified and angry and as usual one caught in a lie, arms wrapped around himself. I said, "Hell no. I had cancer. Your son was sitting next to me when I got the biopsy results. Family history was a factor in my treatment decision." Out of curiosity I did a little research and discovered he had fed the same line to some of his friends. He doesn't understand why I can't just get over it, my cancer thing wasn't that bad. I tried to explain the emotional and physical pain I went through but he didn't want to hear. He was home with me for a week after my bilateral mastectomy and back on the road ASAP. The whole time he was home he was on the phone frequently martyring himself to his boss and buddies, fabricating and exaggerating everything he was doing for me. My kids were there for me 100%, they were my support team. My husband at the time of my mastectomy was going through a midlife decade crisis. He was basically a traveling salesman and his much younger buddies as well as his father and brother loved listening to his on-the-road escapades, so I had put up with a large amount of BS throughout our relationship. 20 years before I was diagnosed with cancer. I had distanced myself from his family several years before I was diagnosed, so I had no idea he had told him that until recently. And his friends from back then were nothing more than mooches. They were the same age as my adult children. They hung out with the older dude for free booze, food and a place to hang out and not clean up basically. I just can't get over this betrayal, and believe me I have had to deal with a ton over the years. It's like he has no feelings for anyone but himself. If anything makes him look like a bad guy, he is upset because he has to maintain his image of himself of being the great guy everyone likes. Kink ruined my sex life entirely. My husband, 30s, and I, 30s, have been together for 8 years. He worships me. Loves every inch of me. He is also a cuck. I have been very careful with this as I wasn't 100% sure he really was okay with me being with another man. He practically begged me. I didn't see it as very odd as he has other kinks and fetishes I will participate in. Me on a personal level, really just wanted to feel special, by him. Sex was fine. I was happy. Sex has been difficult for me to feel free or included or desired. But I was happy and could get turned on by him. Until he brought up sex with other men, and eating their cum from me. Which in the heat of moment sounds okay to me. So, I ventured out and my people-pleasing self had sex with some tall man who my husband agreed on for me. The sex was boring. The man himself was fine to look at, but as I got closer to him any attraction I had was gone. He smelled like alcohol and cigarettes. I recently quit. He didn't feel clean, which was a turn off. I let him come in me twice, and went home and my husband cleaned me up. But I will never forget his face when I got him. The need and desire and how turned on he was. I won't ever feel that way, I don't think. I feel used. Like pig brought to slaughter. I have lost my ability to see myself as anything but an object for men to use for themselves. I never want to be touched again. Ever. The idea sickens me. I miss the old boring sex we had where I almost felt like I was allowed to be a part instead of an object. I feel dirty. I won't forgive myself for allowing this. I don't think I will ever desire sex again. I only wanted to feel special, like someone's precious wife. I won't ever feel that way now, and I am so broken.